Good evening, good morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I know we have some folks in Germany joining us, and we have folks all over the East Coast and the country here. And we are just so excited to have you. We have some amazing panelists and discussion about what is the coolest profession around the CPA profession. And so you're going to hear a little bit from different people, different backgrounds doing different things in the world of accounting and finance, and hopefully get some questions answered. But we are just super excited to have you all here. My name is Rebecca Olson. I am the CEO of the Maryland Association of CPAs, and I'm proud Maryland CPA. And I have the distinct privilege of introducing our host, moderator, MC extraordinaire, Mrs. Kimberly Ellison Taylor. Kimberly, if you've ever met her, if you've ever been within maybe 150 feet of her, you have felt her presence. She brings tremendous energy and is just a top thought leader in the accounting profession and a mentor to anyone she encounters. She's been a personal mentor and cheerleader for me, and I am grateful to have her as our host today. She has an amazing career story, and I'm sure she'll get into that a little bit, but she's been at the top of Oracle. She's been at Prince George's County Government, NASA Goddard Space Center, KPMG. The list just keeps on going. That's her day job. But for our profession, she just has had so many roles because she loves to give back. And so she is the chair of our MACPA Foundation. She is the immediate past chair of Beta Alpha Psi. She is a past chair of the MACPA. She is a past chair of the AICPA and the Association of International Global Professional Accountants. What doesn't she do? I'll stop talking because you really want to hear from her. Kimberly Ellison Taylor.
Thank you, Madam CEO. And I know you know me well. You didn't look at a single note when you pulled all of that information out. So thank you for your support and your encouragement. I'm really encouraged by the number of future bosses, our colleagues, parents, stakeholders are on this call as we talk about accounting exploration, unveiling pathways and possibilities. You are definitely in for a treat. I just want to say, however, a couple of housekeeping things. We are recording this particular session because we want you to be able to replay it. We want you to tell your friends. We want you to think back on this particular discussion and actually want to see it again. So it is being recorded. The next thing is that we want your name. Some of you just have iPhone. I don't know who iPhone is. We need your name, please. First and last name. That will be very helpful to us, especially as we're marking down for attendance, for the raffles. Who knows what we might do with that information. So we want to make sure that you're aware of those opportunities. The next thing I would say is that Madam CEO said about my background. I'm just going to tell you right up front, I'm biased. I have a total conflict of interest as it relates to this discussion. Becoming a CPA was the best thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And it's the best decision I've made. Yes, there were some times where I was gritting my teeth. I just have to say that. But you know what my mom told me? If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And that's why we're having this call, because we want you to know the only path forward is the one you create, and that there's so many opportunities in the accounting profession, so many things that you can do. So if you want to be in public accounting and do audit, tax, and advisory, okay. Consulting, okay. You said, I want to be in business and industry, and I want to work in financial services. I want to do insurance. I want to work in sports management. I want to do retail. I want to do hospitality. I want to work and support the government. Absolutely, from within business and industry, you certainly could do that. If you said, well, I'm interested in government, you could be an elected leader. You could certainly go into the government and support in any number of ways. If you said, I want to work in nonprofits, you could be the next CEO of a nonprofit association, one that we know of, one that you create. So many opportunities to support nonprofits and be purpose driven and support all the work that they do. Then, if you said, well, Kimberly, I want to go in education, you could certainly support high school. I took accounting in high school. I took accounting in college. I took accounting at community college. There are people working in higher ed supporting the accounting profession. We have faculty members and staff members, people who are doing learning and development, and so many different ways where education comes to play into play. And then let's say if you said, well, I like to be a consultant. I want every day to look different than the day before. Guess what? You have that opportunity as well. Just like there's an app for everything, there is an accountant, there is a CPA for everything. And if you said, Kimberly, I'm thinking about being a CPA, but I know I want to be an accountant, come on. We want you there too. We want you wherever you think there's a place where you can add value and that you can feel like you're contributing to the organization. Now, fortunately for me, I decided I was going to be a CPA in the 3rd grade, and I stuck to it. And I decided that that was going to be something that I would share with everyone, no matter where I go. But I need help to do that. So fortunately, I've got some bosses that are with me, and they're the sponsors in partnership for this accounting exploration event. We have the Maryland Association of CPAs. We also have the North Carolina Association of CPAs. Woo-hoo-hoo. And then we also have the Virginia Society of CPAs. Thank you for all that you've done, all the planning, all the time. If you get an opportunity to reach out to these power players, you absolutely should. You should be linking in, mark the name down, reach back out for contact information. They will be sending you out some information, but you definitely want to know who these ladies are because they are supportive and they will do whatever they need and whatever they can to help you on your journey. Now, we're going to be using Conferences.io during the course of this session. We want to be interactive. So I'm going to call Lauren from Maryland forward to give us some instructions on how to use Conferences.io.
Yep, all right. I am going to go ahead and get it open. And you should be able to see my screen in just a moment.
And let me just say, I know the link has been posted and hopefully everyone has seen it. I'm going to see if I can see it on my phone as well.
You can also just use your phone and scan that QR code that you're seeing on the slide now to answer that poll. Whatever is easier for you. And I'll put the link in the chat for you, Lauren, as well.
Thank you.
So it is https://macpa.cnf.io/. Okay. And you know what's so interesting about these particular states coming together in partnership? We share members. I'm sure we have students that live in one place, go to school in another. That's the wonderful beauty about being on the East Coast. But I know that we have people joining us from all over the country. We welcome you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. No matter where you're from, we know that there is a lot of value that you're going to get from this call. And we can see it happening right on the slide. So it's kind of evenly balanced. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have other questions as well. And those other questions are, which of the following best describes you? So we can go to our next question. Hopefully everyone's pulling it up. I know I'm pulling it up.
Wow.
Let's see. This is when we have the Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. That was one of my favorite shows on television. I do not want to do a poll that says how many people actually know what I'm talking about. Okay. So we've got university students, we've got community college students, graduate programs. Let's see, we've got some professionals, we got a high school student, and we also have state societies. And just a reminder, you can also click on that QR code if you want to.
Yep.
That'll take you there faster.
Click on it and scan it with your smart device as well.
Yes. Now, I'm going to tell you this next part, which I love that we're able to do. This is about the raffle. And I think in some of the posts, you may have noticed that there was a raffle. And so we know that people are wanting to get engaged and get involved. So we want you to enter your first name and your last name. We have 6 $50 raffle winners and 3 $100 raffle winners. So let's go to the next question. We want to make sure that everyone knows that that is an opportunity. And after each panel session, we're actually going to be asking for your first and last name so we can pick a raffle winner. But the next question is already on the screen. So thank you, Lauren. What do you hope to get out of today's session? A better understanding of where I could go post-college with experience in accounting anywhere. You're in demand. We speak the language of business. Every company, everywhere needs someone who can do that translation for them. Relevant information regarding the opportunities. You're in the right place. The panelists are going to share their various backgrounds. They're also different and diverse, and yet they're still a part of the tent of accounting, which is, I love it. I want to learn about what other people have done, CPA, CGMA, CMA, better understanding of career options. Yes, careers that you can do as an accountant. Yes, I love it. More information, forensic accounting information. I'm hoping to gain more knowledge on how to become a successful CPA. If you get us talking, any one of us, you find us anywhere, we're happy to tell you our war stories on how we became a successful CPA. We're happy to share that with you because we're still excited. Everybody, now they may not be as excited talking as I am, so don't use that as a gauge, but they're excited. They are delighted. We didn't have to beg anybody to be on this call tonight. They wanted to be here because they want to share their information. You want to learn more about audits. You're still on the fence about, if you could slide down some so I can see that one, about becoming a CPA. So I'm excited to hear. I will just tell you, I don't think or, I think and. My background is also technology. And so I have enjoyed getting technology credentials just as much as I have enjoyed becoming a CPA. And it has really helped me today because we're in a world of analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, robotics process automation. If you like to code, whether or not you want to put a network together, so many opportunities in accounting and technology, you could certainly consider that. We have colleagues that are JDs. They have decided that they were going to be in behavioral economics, and they combine being a CPA and being an economist. There are so many opportunities, and it's all about the and, all about the and. So I don't want any of you to think for 1 minute that this is a singular path. There are always seasons and always things that you can do. I'm hoping to gain more information. I think we've gotten everybody, or at least a lot of them, and we can always come back and check on them because this information here is what will help us decide what future programming we put together, because you're giving us this information tells us what you care about and what you're willing to join a call and participate in. So that is awesome. Okay, The other thing I just want to remind you is that on that same polling location, there is a social Q&A section where you can add questions. As I go and speak with each one of the panelists, I have questions. But if you have questions, I'd rather ask your questions, because your questions are going to be better and your questions are going to be something you specifically want to hear about. One of the questions that was already asked was, what do you hope to get out of today's session? I think those will still be open as we're speaking. So if you want to add something different in there, I guess you could certainly do that, so that we would be able to have what state you're joining from, as well as which of the best describes you, one of the descriptions, and what do you hope to get out of today's session. And you can go in, if you missed it on the front end of answering, definitely you still have that opportunity through Conferences.io. The only other thing that I mentioned, just the Reader's Digest version of it, is there is a raffle. We have several, so it's not just one, which I'm so impressed. We have 6 $50 raffles and 3 $100 raffles. We have our partners who got together to thank. That's the Maryland Association of CPAs, that's the North Carolina Association of CPAs, and that's the Virginia Society of CPAs, who have come together. I've encouraged everyone to reach out to these ladies. Definitely you want to find out how to become a member as a student member, or to find out information relative to your state as far as school, classes, taking the exam, whatever it is. Here are your counterparts focal points that you can go to. And so with that, if we can just start to talk about our panelists that we're going to bring to the stage. That stage is the screen. So we're going to bring our panelists. The first panel is Jeff Gehring, Jessica McLean, and Anoop Mehta. I just love that you all are here. And so we're going to take it off of penning me to penning them as well, so that we're all on the screen together. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited about all the panels. Let's just be honest. I'm just happy to be here. Becoming a CPA was the best decision of my entire life. I tell everybody, I'm sure you're going to tell us about why you're excited as well. But before you do that, I know who you are. Tell our future bosses who you are. So we want, and make sure I get it right, your name, your title, and your company affiliation. And so I'm going to call you so it'll make it easier. And Anoop, you're in Germany right now. So thank you, sir, for your leadership. So if you could go first. And after we get you off mute.
Yep, I got it. It was me. Well, good evening, everyone. It is amazing to be here on this great panel. Thank you, Kimberly. Wonderful to see you online. Like I said, great to be with these amazing panelists that are online here. My name is Anoop Mehta. I am a CPA and I am a CGMA, which is Chartered Global Management Accountant. I am the chief strategist for a company called Analytical Mechanic Associates, and I work in the aerospace industry, working with NASA and other federal agencies. I get to say I work with rocket scientists.
It doesn't get any cooler than that until you talk to Jessica. So Jessica, we want to hear about you.
Good evening, everyone. I am so appreciative of the opportunity to be here and speak with you all. As Kimberly said, my name is Jessica McLean, and I am the Chief Financial Officer for Girl Scouts Nation's Capital. And the question I always get, and I go anywhere, even virtually, is, do I have cookies? And I say in the DC area, our cookie sale starts next month, the 15th. So those of you in Girl Scout cookies in the DC area, we're ready for you. But very appreciative, honored to be here and share my story of how I started in public accounting and transitioned into nonprofit. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you. Now, Jessica, you're really cool, a Girl Scout, and those cookies are delicious. And then Anoop, you're a rocket scientist. But Jeff and I have something in common because we're both on the wall at Junior Achievement. So, Jeff, tell them why you're on the wall.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I love talking with students, so I appreciate the opportunity to do that tonight. My name is Jeff Gehring. I'm the Chief Financial Officer with the Baltimore Ravens. I started with EY in Kansas City a long time ago. I worked 4 years in the audit department there, went back to school and got a master's in sports management, worked my way to the Baltimore Ravens, where eventually I became the Chief Financial Officer, and that was 23 years ago. So time flies by, but I love my job here working in sports, kind of combining my accounting background and my sports passion into this role with the Baltimore Ravens. So thanks for having me here.
I so appreciate, Jeff, your being here because the three of you showcase what the options are. So I'm going to come back to you, and then I'm going to go to Anoop, and then Jessica, and I'll move it around some. What are some of the misconceptions you'd like to address about your field of accounting?
Yeah, I can start with that. I feel like the primary misconception is the fact that accountants are often viewed as, the profession might be viewed as non-exciting, boring. I didn't ever really encounter that all that much. When I worked at EY, I was visiting different client locations. So you're constantly seeing something different, going to new client locations, learning their business. So I did enjoy that while I was working in public accounting. So for those students who are thinking about going the public accounting route, if you go into the audit department, for sure, you'll have a lot of different experiences auditing different clients. Once I made the switch to the private side in the Baltimore Ravens, there are some elements of accounting that are going to be very routine in nature, for sure. But the two things that I would point out would be, I feel like one real benefit here by working in the finance department is you get to deal with all the different departments within our football team because they all are spending money. They're all strategizing. They're all kind of creating their own business plans. And so whereas some of our departments are very siloed and don't have a lot of interaction with other departments, the finance department has this broad coverage and interaction with all the departments. The last thing I would mention would be, I feel like as you work your way up the accounting ladder, you move a little bit more away from the routine transactions and the closing of the month, and you become more involved in strategic decisions. Like, what kind of stadium improvements do we want to make at our football stadium? What kind of ticket pricing do we want to put in place for our ticket holders? That type of thing. So that's another element that I think is enjoyable and exciting to me, to be involved in kind of the strategic planning of our organizational decisions, really critical and important organizational decisions.
Now, Jeff, I just have to ask you, were you a football person before you became the CFO, or what happened? You enjoyed it and you went and found it, or you just married the two together?
Yeah, good question. I was a basketball player in college. I played small college basketball, but loved pretty much all sports. And I worked for 4 years at EY. And then I thought, you know what, I should try to combine the sports passion with the accounting background. And the only way I figured out to do that was to go get a master's degree in sports management. For some of you students on the line, you don't have to get a master's degree in sports management. As long as you can get some kind of sports experience on your resume, that's helpful. At least it kind of sets your resume apart from other candidates. So that's kind of the way I got my foot in the door. When I got the offer from the Baltimore Ravens 23 years ago, I wasn't familiar with Baltimore, so I had to kind of jump to a new location. I was coming from the Midwest, and I jumped to a new location in Baltimore because I knew that there's only 32 NFL teams. And so I thought, you know what, maybe it makes sense to try to take this position and see how I like it. And then, of course, you can tell I've liked it because I've stayed here a long time.
Well, that is great. I'm glad you love it. So, Anoop, what misconceptions about your area and field of accounting?
Well, I would tell you, as soon as people find out I'm a CPA, immediately they say, "Oh, do you do taxes?" And I said, "Oh my God, never have done a tax except my own return. That's it." But the thing is, I think that's the thing. I mean, that's the conception people have. We do this or we do audit. But I mean, it's just so many different things you can do. I got passionate about our protecting our environment, right? I got passionate about studying this beautiful planet that we live on. And what the CPA gave me was the ability to be able to be in this industry. I get to work with rocket scientists, engineers. I know astronauts, and that was my passion. But what kept me there was my CPA, because I was able to apply all the things that I can do. Jeff talked about strategic thinking, right? So I haven't really done accounting probably in 20, 25 years. All I've done now is use that to move up to, a CFO level, and then ultimately a CEO level of a company that does work with NASA. So I think there's a lot of misconception, but I think these are the things. But the CPA, that accounting and the CPA will give you so many different options to be able to do so many different things. Like I said, Jeff is in sports, Jessica is Girl Scout, nonprofit. So there's so many things that we can do. So that's what I think.
I think that's amazing. Jessica, what would you address?
Jeff and Anoop, I definitely agree with both of their statements. I hear a lot from young students, I'm not good at math. And if you can work a calculator, that's all you need to know. This is not calculus. This is not the rocket scientist that Anoop works with as far as statistics and chemistry and all those things. So it's not about having good math skills. One thing I do stress is, and I know we'll talk about this later, is actually communication is really important in our profession. For me, it's about the story that I'm telling, the insights that I get from financial information, and how I'm communicating that to various stakeholders, whether it's to our board, our Girl Scout volunteers, even our donors as well. And so math is not that important. Believe me, I tell young folks that it's okay if you don't. Again, you don't have to take a stats 101 class and ace it. The work that we do, and Jeff Mitch said it very well, is especially as you progress within the profession, you do less and less of the routine work. And for example, our Girl Scout Council was recipient of a huge transformational gift from Mackenzie Scott last year. And I'm not involved with the accounting piece of it. I'm involved with the vision of how that is going to impact our organization, not just now, but 5 to 10 years from now. And so I'm involved with the strategy and the vision of the organization. And knowing the influence that I have in creating or preparing the next generation of young women for leadership positions gives me great joy every single day.
You know, what's so interesting, Jessica, is that what we're hearing is that people combine their passion and interests with accounting. And one of the questions that I saw coming in the chat, Jeff, was about if you were a CPA. Now, I know you have a number of credentials behind your name. So maybe you could just take a second and Anoop, I know you said you were a CPA, but Jessica, if you could talk about your credentials as well. Jeff, could you share about your credentials? Because there was a question in the chat.
Yeah, sure. I had my CPA. I got my CPA when I joined Ernst & Young in Kansas City, and I kept my CPA while I worked in public accounting for the 4 years I was there. When I made the switch and went back to school and got my master's in sports management and converted over to the private side, I did not continue to keep my CPA in place because I wasn't practicing as a public accountant anymore. So I don't currently have that. I've given some consideration to going back and getting it in place, but I do rely completely on the CPAs that provide service to us. So we have audit providers, audit consultants, and tax consultants as well. And so they have their CPA licenses, and I find great value in that.
But you also have RICP, CEPA. I don't know what some of those are. What are those, Jeff?
That might be for Anoop instead. I'm not exactly sure that.
No worries. We're just happy that we have finance leaders who have credentials and things. And so, Jessica, could you talk about your credential that you might have?
Sure. I'd like to say I have alphabet soup behind my last name. Of course, definitely a CPA, a long, hard journey, but so worth it. I have IT credentials as well, CITP and CISA, which relates to IT audit, which was very important when I was doing financial statement audits and public accounting. PMP, project management professional. You'd be surprised when you're running audit teams and audit engagements, how project management is very important as part of the role that you have on a day-to-day basis. And also at CGFM, I spent time doing federal government work as well and obtained that credential several years ago. So yes, I do have alphabet soup behind my last name. Makes it easy to find me on LinkedIn.
It certainly does, because it is definitely a long name. So the next question that I would ask is, how do you envision the role of accountants evolving in the next decade, think in the future, and what new opportunities might arise for professionals? Who would like to start?
You want to take that? Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So that's a really, really good question, Kimberly. So now, like Jeff, I spent my entire career in private industry. I've never been in public accounting, but I chose to retain my CPA license because of so many things that I learned by being involved in the profession. So, I'm very active at the Maryland Association of CPAs. I'm very active at the American Institute of Certified Public Accountant. And as you know, I just stepped down as the chairman of the AICPA and the Global Association. So technology, I wanted to be there and learn about technology. So technology and automation is really influencing the way accountants work in many, many ways. So they're helping, accountants streamline their processes, improve accuracy, efficiency. So many things that are happening. So technology is one thing, one driver that's going to influence the accounting profession for years and years to come. Things like AI, big data, data analytics, all of those things, cloud computing, all of these things are what's driving the accounting and what's going to drive the accounting profession in the next decade or so, and actually probably beyond that. So that's what's influencing in the accounting profession right now.
Thank you for that. Any additional thoughts, Jeff or Jessica?
Yeah, I would offer a few more thoughts too. I do feel like automation is going to be a main driver moving forward. Like just for example, with us at the Ravens, we have an automated payable system, an automated expense reimbursement system. We have our general ledger system. We have our budgeting and reporting system, other systems too, and we have to make sure they're all integrated properly. So there's a lot of automation and integration that's important. The other thing I would mention to students would be, if you're wanting to develop a skill that I think would be important moving forward, to me, it's data visualization. Power BI, Tableau, those, to be able to take data and to tell a story is really important for us here at the Ravens. And to tell a story using charts and graphs and PowerPoint slides instead of like a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet. So if you have an opportunity to develop your skills in data visualization, I would think that might be really helpful moving forward.
I think that is excellent, Jeff. And the times when I have scrolled by the TV and saw sports on, there are a lot of analytics going on. I mean, the sportscasters are like stats from 3 to 4 years ago, talking about the 2 games ago. There are a lot of analytics. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, Jessica, what about you?
Absolutely. I'll quickly add that the CFO, especially the CFO role, we are seen as partners to CEOs within organizations, whether it's nonprofit, the private sector. They value the knowledge that we have. I think, Kimberly, you mentioned that we are the language of business, and we have to understand everything that's happening within our organizations. And with that, I'm going to focus on the soft skill aspect. Critical thinking, negotiation, communication is so important. And that students need to focus on that, not when they start their career, but while they're still in school. And I will also say, I like to use the analogy, the financial reporting aspect of the accounting profession, I look at it as kind of the rearview mirror in what we do. But when you have the big, the big view in front of you, we're focused on strategy and vision for the future. And so I think that's a great opportunity for us in the profession.
Well, here's the thing that I would say, as it relates to where we're going next and what we're doing, we've got success skills, we've got visualization, we've got AI, we've got leaders on this call that have amplified and magnified their credentials and the things that they've done in their careers. I want to, one, make sure all our future bosses know how to take part in that raffle. You're going to go to Conferences.io. There's actually a section that says raffle. And I'm going to ask our panelists to give us some closing thoughts, things they want students to remember and know while you are putting your name into the raffle. First name, last name into the raffle. And when we finish with that question, we will conclude our panel. And then what we'll do is pull the raffle. So I'm going to go to you, Jeff, first. And then I'm going to go to you, Jessica, and then you, Anoop, on any closing thoughts, what you want the students to know.
Yeah, well, thank you. So the closing thoughts that come to my mind would be, one would be think about your passion, and then consider combining your passion with the world of accounting. It can be sports, it can be film, it can be concerts, it can be, space exploration, it can be nonprofits, it can be so many different things. But I feel like as I've gotten into the world of sports, and I've been able to practice accounting in the world of sports, it's made it a lot more enjoyable and meaningful to me. The other thing I would mention would be careers aren't always a straight line from where you are currently to where your kind of ultimate goal is. Sometimes I equate it to a football player running down the field. Like rarely you see the handoff and the football player is taking it straight to the goal line. A lot of times it's moving one direction, cutting back. Sometimes you even see a complete reversal of field to the other side of the field, and then kind of taking off down towards the goal line. So don't be afraid to kind of pursue a position, and then after a while, stop, reevaluate, decide if you want to continue down the path or if you want to make a little bit of a turn, and then keep on progressing forward. And I would just encourage you that, look, I grew up on a farm in the middle of Kansas. And somehow I found my way to Baltimore and become the chief financial officer of the Ravens. And there are other great positions out there too. So I'm not saying this is the greatest position ever. I love it. But I feel like if I can do this, that you guys can do this as well. And I just encourage you to kind of keep with it, stick with it, and continue progressing forward.
Thank you, Jeff. And you already have Kelly Clark saying that was a great analogy and that she needed to hear the analogy that you gave.
Good,
so,
great.
And you're getting multiple people clapping on that as well. So, Jessica, I think I said Jessica, you're next to say, what closing thoughts would you like to share?
I would definitely add on to Jeff, but from the perspective of you don't have to have your entire career figured out when you finish school. I meet young students that think, I don't know what to do or my next 30-year plan. And what's so amazing about a profession is you can pivot and move around. Again, I started off in public accounting doing government auditing, and now I'm in the nonprofit space. And who knows what I'll be doing 5 or 10 years from now. So that's what's so great about our profession. And so it doesn't have to be this straight line and straight path. You can have this flexibility of being able to move around and take advantage of many options, many that you may have not even thought existed.
That is so true. Anoop, I just want to thank you publicly yet again for your leadership. You are the 109th chairman, and you're also from Maryland. So how excited am I that I get to work with you, and also you're a past chairman of the MACPA. You're so dedicated that you called in from Germany. So thank you for that. What are your closing thoughts, sir?
Well, thank you, Kimberly. It has really been a pleasure to be here. I'll tell you one phrase that I love, and I heard this from a student, and I want to repeat it. It is, if you choose accounting or CPA, you will never have to choose again. And the phrase, what it implies basically is, if you go into accounting, become a CPA, you really don't need to choose that you got to do this or you got to do these. And I know Jeff and Jessica talked about various things that you can do, right? And the term I use is, I call it a lattice approach. And basically, which means as your interests change, you can do whatever your interest takes you. But what is that foundation? And I believe the foundation is that accounting degree and getting your CPA. You will you'll get to do so many different things as your interest changes, which is what is great about this profession. That's what I would leave it at.
I am so grateful for that. And I hope that you're all able to stay on a little bit longer, because in the chat, you had questions and we have other panelists. Thank you, panelists, for answering some of the questions. But Jeff, there's a question about how do you marry your love of accounting and finance with sports? And I don't know if you have a second to answer it or if you can go into the chat and answer it, but I think that's a very good question. And do you have a thought about it, or do you want to take a second and think about it and write it out?
I can take a minute and write it out in the chat maybe, and just let you kind of
Yes.
continue through the different panels.
Yes, I would appreciate that, because sometimes we need a second to really think, like, what is the exact question? And I paraphrased it, Jeff, so I may not have even gotten it the way you like it.
And
So
Kimberly,
I just
the
want
other
to
thing
thank you.
Kimberly, the other thing I might mention is I think there is a breakout session at the very end. And so I'll be
Yes.
available. If anybody wants to stick around and ask me any questions in the breakout session, that's totally fine.
Oh my goodness. I hope my future bosses are going to take advantage of our breakout sessions to ask Jeff questions, because that is access that you don't usually get. And that's why Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina CPAs came together to make sure that you would have access to leaders that you ordinarily might not be able to get in touch with. So we have our next panelists. This is panel number 2. They're already ready. They're already excited. Denise is already smiling. Look at you, Jess. I see you. Okay, James, I want to see. Yes, I see a smile. Okay, so the first question that we ask everybody, maybe you heard it, your name, your title, and your company affiliation. And Jess, you're at the top of my screen, so I'm going to call on you.
Perfect. So excited that everybody's here tonight. Very excited for this event. My name is Jess Bankhead. I am the director of the Masters of Accounting program and a tax professor at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, James, you're next.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm James Robinson. I'm a consulting senior manager, and I work with EY in the Cayman Islands. And I just want to give a shout out to Jess because he's a young CPA cabinet member as well, and I'm an alumni, and I love to see that. I've seen his name in many places, so shout out to you, Jess, as well. We can connect separately.
Now, James, did you just throw out that you were in the Cayman Islands just like that?
I am born and raised from North Carolina, though. Let me just state that. And I went to NC State University and was a student athlete back in the day there as well. So yes.
So the loyalty abounds for North Carolina. Go North
Yes.
Carolina. NC State, we hear you. But I heard the Cayman Islands. So,
Yeah.
I think that's the part I heard. Okay, Denise. And we got Aggie Pride. We know the GHO was last weekend. All the things. Okay, Denise.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone. My name is Denise Harding. I am a financial investigative specialist at the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, or NCIS, and that would be the real agency, not the television show. I am a CPA. Basically, I do financial investigative support and forensic accounting for all of NCIS's investigations around the world.
That sounds like if you tell us, you gotta kill us kind of thing. That sounds interesting, though.
I love my job.
I love hearing about all the things that we do. And so the first question is just to share, and Denise, I'll start with you. Share, how in the world did you get into NCIS? I watched that show on television. I loved it. Of course, I know that you're separate from that, but as soon as you said NCIS, I was like, yes. Okay, now I control myself. So can you tell us what led you to this field and how did you progress through different roles on your accounting journey?
So just like the first panelist, Jeff talked about how it's not a straight line. Mine was definitely not a straight line. I got an accounting degree because my father was a CPA, and all of my business advisors, all my school advisors said, get an accounting degree, get your CPA, you can do anything you want. So I went ahead and got the accounting degree, and my first job after I got my CPA was as a tax compliance auditor in Washington State. That gave me the opportunity to see every different kind of business you can think of. I did audits on a small craft shop at the Washington State Fair, all the way up to multinational corporations. I was able to see how people did their accounting and their business systems, from working it out of your own personal checkbook to a company that had thousands of accounts in their general ledger. The last 2 years that I worked at the Department of Revenue, I was given the opportunity to work tax evasion cases. And one of the gentlemen that I worked with said, you know, if you really like this, if you get into the federal government, they do this investigative thing full time. So he set me up with some informational interviews with Air Force Office of Special Investigations and a couple of others, Social Security Administration, Office of Inspector Generals, and NCIS were the ones that hired me. I was actually hired as a special agent. I worked as an agent for 14 years. And 2014 was when I was given the opportunity to convert over to financial investigations full time.
I think that's an incredible story. And what it also tells me is that you are persistent and focused, because you kept on a path. And I think it does go to show that all paths forward aren't always the way we think we're going to go, but we keep moving and we keep going. Now, is this your dream job, Denise? Are you in it, or is there more
I am
to
in
it?
it. I am in it now, but I didn't realize that until probably 10 years ago. I am in it now. I absolutely love getting up and going to work every morning.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Okay, Jess, you are influencing the best and the brightest minds in this whole world. Tell us about your career journey, all the things that you're doing, what led you on this path. Share with us.
Yeah, so I never expected to be in education. I started out in public accounting. I was in tax, so I did a tax internship where I was getting my master's, was brought on full-time after I graduated, worked at a statewide firm in North Carolina, worked my way up to tax manager. Someone put in the chat, is it weird to like tax? No, I absolutely love tax, love doing that. But I love doing tax, but what I loved more was training staff, preparing the next generation to come up, developing them, mentoring them. Love doing that, love tax. But with that, I did love working with my coworkers a lot. And I loved that side of it and the mentor side of it. And so James mentioned I was on the Young Cabinet for NCA CPA. It's a great way for young professionals to really make an impact on the profession. Through that, I got to meet Holly, who's with us tonight at NCA CPA, was talking about what I enjoyed doing, what my passions were, and she mentioned education. So I started looking into it, didn't necessarily want to do research, but I knew I wanted to do something that's helped the next generation. And so was able to come on to UNCG as the director of Masters of Accounting program. So a lot of my role now is I teach at the graduate level. So I teach a few tax classes. So I was able to bring my tax experience into the classroom. But a lot more of my job now is mentoring students. I have students in my office constantly just talking to them, whether it's about their accounting classes, what type of internship to do, what career path to take, what's the CPA exam look like, how do you prepare for that? I've had students in my office sometimes just breaking down because they're overwhelmed. So being able to help and being an assistant for them and just walking beside them and then watching them succeed and watching the joy after they graduate or they get their first internship or their job and just being able to celebrate with them is what I've really, really loved.
So Jess, you actually like students and you like accounting and you like to teach.
Yeah.
And you hang out with students after like the session is over. You don't run in your car and just be out
No, when there's a lot of students here, when your professors say they want you to come talk to them, they actually mean it. They want you to come to office hours. They want you to come to their review sessions to ask questions. They want to see you. They want to mentor you. This job is a lot more than just teaching and research. It's getting to know the students and helping them succeed. That's why most of them are there.
Jess, we love you. That's great. Thank you. Okay, James, there's got to be a story. When you said I was born in North Carolina, went to NC State, and then you're in the Cayman Islands. Okay, so take us through what happened on your journey. How'd you get to where you are?
Yeah, sure. So it's funny because Denise and Jess, we all have similar things that relates to my story, which is very interesting. But so I am born and raised from Raleigh, North Carolina. Went to NC State. Um, very similar to Jess and others. Got my undergrad and my master's, and started in public accounting. I've been in public accounting my entire career. From there, I ended up just enjoying and moving to Charlotte, North Carolina. So that was an adjustment right there for me because I'd always been in Raleigh for 20 plus years. So I moved to Charlotte, enjoyed it, got very involved in the Young CPA cabinet, worked closely with Holly in terms of the Young CPA cabinet. Actually, when I was part of the cabinet, I ended up moving and getting a new job in Washington State with a firm called Moss Adams. Was there for about 9 months. Seattle was not for me, but I'm glad that I enjoyed it and experienced another opportunity. I was very scared to move in general because I'm a North Carolina boy, and enjoy it. And so when I moved, if there was one thing that I learned through moving to Washington is always being open to different opportunities. And through that, I moved to the Cayman Islands just through my profession. And I just saw an international opportunity. And the company has been great to me since ever been here. There's always the opportunity to move back if need be. But I was very still involved with the North Carolina CPA Association. No matter where you are, you can still give back to the community where you are. But I have been just, in the Cayman Islands. Didn't choose Cayman Islands specifically. I knew I just wanted to do something international. Really bad with public transportation, just to be completely candid. I could never live in DC or Maryland or New York area. No, that's not for me, or even in Europe. So I was like, well, why don't go to a small island? It's easier for me to get home from Cayman Islands than it is from the West Coast. It's 2 hours versus 6 hours. And I'm on pretty much the same time zone. So I'm totally fine with that. So that's what drove me here, just through an international rotation. It was supposed to be for 2 years, and I'm here 4.5 years now. And my parents are like, when are you moving back? So that's my story.
I think that's such an interesting story because it's important for our future bosses to know that our skill set is leverageable, not just in the United States, you're leveraging it, but internationally as well. And while there might be some differences, by and large, there are so many similarities that you have taken wherever you've gone. So then let me ask you, start with you, James, about misconceptions. And maybe just talk about public accounting, let's say, because on the earlier part of the call, we were talking about and. We can do anything. And we're also accountants and CPAs. So can you share any misconceptions that you might see that you want to clear up about what you do in your field of accounting?
Yeah, sure. There's the misconception of kind of the hours expectation. No matter what you do, you always have to kind of work hard in what you're doing, but you always have to have that mental time for yourself no matter what you do. And so what I do for my mental time is go for a run. I train for marathons all the time, and that takes 2-3 hours of my time. And people say, oh, you can't step away for dinner, or you can't step away for this. I step away for dinner and running. So like after this, like I would go for a run for about 3 hours. That is something that I have to do. I've been a runner since I was 5 years old, but like if I don't run in a day, I'll go crazy. So that's one misconception, is the whole mental side of things. Two, I think the other misconception of accounting is that it's just audit and tax. We talked about automation piece. With me, and I'm in the consulting side of it, I worked very closely with the audit teams and tax teams related to the automation of certain things internally, but also with our clients as well. So that is another misconception, that it is just audit and tax, and there's a lot of different things that you can do in accounting in general, but in public accounting, there's so many different things that and services that we don't think about, related to forensics, to even just people advisory services and acting as a company's HR department. There's so many different things that you can do within public accounting. Obviously, leveraging your network to just understand other opportunities, but always, if you do go into public accounting, always explore your options internally before even going externally as well, because there could be an opportunity still before you not. And if it's okay, it's not okay. It is okay. Sorry, people do go to other options, and there are successful accountants no matter where you go. So
I appreciate that, James. What about you, Denise? What are the misconceptions you think about your field?
Well, first of all, I have to agree with James about the misconception that you can't have a life outside of accounting. I sing and I dance, and I sang for the last 10 years with the National Philharmonic Chorus, and I'm currently singing with the Richmond Symphony Chorus. And then I also do Irish dance. So you can definitely have a life outside of accounting, and I highly encourage it. Actually, it's a way just to keep your mental health and your joy going for everything that you do. The other thing that I would say is a major misconception, especially in government accounting, the audit, not so much the tax, but the audit and the business accounting, that it's accounts receivable and accounts payable, spreadsheets and statutes. I have worked with so many different people that have CPAs that are in accounting within the government that have nothing to do with audits and nothing to do with accounts payable or business accounting, like myself. I was a special agent for 14 years. I worked with the FBI and National Security Division. I actually support our counterintelligence and our espionage cases. It isn't, I do a lot of following the money, and I do spreadsheets because I live on spreadsheets. That's me, but it's not all spreadsheets. It's interviews and working with people and working in teams. And for me, catching the bad guy has been just amazing. I have been all over the world with my work. I work with case agents, and I currently have cases in Singapore and Japan, Korea, Naples, Italy. I've been in Hawaii, all over the United States, Guam. Accounting can take you so many different places. It isn't just spreadsheets, accounts payable, business accounting. There's so many different things that you can do.
Thank you for that, Denise. Now, I am just going to channel what everyone was thinking when you said that you were a singer. They're hoping you're going to sing in your breakout, because I'm going to be the first one in there with you. Do we have a link? Send us a link or something. You can't say you sing and dance and not give us a link, Denise. We're all, back me up, future bosses. We all want to see a link somewhere.
I'm not a soloist. I sing with a choir, so I'm like a little dot in the middle of the chorus, but I can send a link for the Richmond Symphony Chorus here in Virginia.
Okay, we want to see it. I'm so, look, they say definitely. See that? I am impressed. So just before I say what are the common misconceptions, we've got a marathon runner, we've got a singer and dancer, and someone who works with, Denise, your guys aren't just bad. They're super bad. They are bad guys. And you were like NCIS. When you said you were a special agent, you were just like that main character on NCIS, I bet you. So really excited about that. Jess, you've got to tell me, what is it that you do for fun?
So I am a volleyball player. So I play in different indoor sand volleyball tournaments throughout the year. I've won several tournaments. I'm a hitter, my wife's a setter, so we make a great team working together. She played competitively, so yeah, that's my outside activity.
Now, Jess, are you tall and we don't know? Or you like regular height?
No, I'm right at 6 foot, so I'm not super tall, but
It's tall.
I make it work.
That's tall.
Make it work.
Nope, that's tall. I'm 5'3", so you're tall to me. Okay, so what are some misconceptions about being an educator?
Yeah, so I'm going to focus more on the teaching side. There's so many different aspects of my job, just like every accountant. But for the teaching side, it's you teach the same thing every single semester. Your debits and credits are always going to be the same. They're going to carry over. But the nice thing about the accounting profession, it's always changing. It's always keeping you on your toes. It's always something new's coming up. So you're constantly learning. We're constantly updating our courses. The professors are learning just as much as the students are. The accounting profession is great because it is always changing. It's always going to be something new. There's going to be some consistencies, but we're learning just as much as you are. So every semester does not look the same at all. And the next thing is with teaching, we don't just teach then leave. We hang out, want to meet our students. A lot of my job is mentoring. So I love meeting students. When a student comes to my office, I stop whatever I'm doing just to talk to them. So we're not just going to teach you, try to trick you on an exam, fail you on an exam. We want to do that. We want to do more than that. We want to actually get to know you and hang out with you and get to know you outside of the class so we can help you succeed outside of the class.
That is amazing. Well, and let me tell you, we actually have some questions, and I'm going to ask you the student questions because those are the best ones. So the one that's rated highly, and I think all of our panelists in the breakouts can maybe even cover some of these since we didn't get to all of them. What would you like our key takeaways to be from this call? So that was like 35 people lifted that one up, but that's a softball one, right? So Denise, I'm gonna go to you. What do you want the students, the future bosses, to know after this call?
That you can do anything with a CPA and accounting. You can go anywhere and do anything you want to do. James is in the Cayman Islands. I've worked in Germany. I've worked in Japan. Take your passion and connect it to accounting because you can do anything you want.
Okay, I see Jay Farmer's like, I sent that one. Yay. Okay, Jess, what would you say the takeaway should be?
Yeah. Have fun with your career. This is your career. Make it what you want it to be. If it is the passion you have, make it. Do it. That's accounting is there. Every business, every individual, anything that you do needs an accountant. So take your passion and apply it. This is your career. Have fun with it.
And then what about you, James? What would you say the key takeaway should be?
I would say that you will always keep your options open and your networks open as well, being willing to always meet people, and you never know when you're going to meet somebody. It's so funny. I was just texting Holly in the background, but I actually read Jessit Bankhead's application for the young CPA and selected him. And I remember the name. So you have no idea whenever you're going to meet somebody or you see a name, never be afraid to reach out to them and always have that connection. Worst case scenario, if they say no, but always be worth having that challenge and always being willing to just always connect with other individuals to make sure that you are supporting your career, but that person can always learn from you as well.
Yeah, it's all about the network. So anytime most of you are at schools, anytime there's an event, try to go to it, make a connection. Your network is like a spider web. It's just going to get bigger and bigger over time. You might not think you need it tomorrow, but 10 years down the road, it might come in handy.
And then one more question is, how can a CPA certification help in professions other than in accounting? And if you have any thoughts about that, some of the other panelists are here. If you could answer in the chat as well, and I'll just say it again in case the other panelists didn't hear. How can a CPA certification help in professions other than accounting? So who would like to start on that one?
So I'm going to take it a non-traditional route. So I still use the CPA for doing tax services and things like that. But for me specifically, I went through the CPA process, took all the exams, did all the things. So now I can relate to my students as they're doing it. So as they're stressing out about the test or whatever that might be, I'm alongside them the journey, encouraging them because I've also been through it. So kind of a different perspective on that question, but I'm able to support those looking to do the CPA license.
Awesome. James, I'm going to come to you next. What do you
Yeah,
think?
sure. So Kimberly, for me, what I would say is there are different other items you can do, like for example, like internal audit or even money laundering. Being in the Cayman Islands, you see movies all the time about money laundering. They're every day, I've done many AML assessments as well, and I'm sure Denise has done many different forensic things as well related to that, just a tad. So, um, but I would definitely say you can definitely do a variety of different things. I could tell you 5, 10 years ago when I started my career, one, I never thought I would be in the Cayman Islands, and then two, I never thought I would deal anything with money laundering. But now I'm like, okay, I'm glad I have my CPA, and I'm glad I'm doing something totally different. So there's a variety of different things that you can do, and even going to the grocery store or doing just a random, task of, looking at your bank statement, like that is accounting right there as well. So just the basic things that you do on a day-to-day basis or planning for a trip, you're using your CPA right there.
Absolutely. And all three of you are at least CPAs. You may have other things, but you're at least all three of you, I think, by your credentials are CPAs. So, Denise, what else would a CPA certification help someone with other than in accounting?
So I can tell you that if you are interested in applying for, say, the Federal Bureau of Investigations or any one of the white-collar crime investigations at the federal level, state and local governments as well, they are looking for degrees in accounting, finance, business. The FBI prefers CPAs. Certified financial planners, somebody who's got 3 to 5 years working in business and accounting. It gives you bona fides when you're doing expert witness testimony or even just fact testimony to be able to say that you are a CPA. The jury looks at that as you're experienced, you're an expert in what you do. You understand business, you understand accounting. So it's definitely a plus for a number of professions that aren't necessarily an accounting job. Many careers see that CPA as an expertise in business. And it definitely gives you some bona fides when you're out looking for a job, when you're speaking, when you're just talking and communicating with others.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. Any closing thoughts while we're getting the raffle ready? I think it's closed already. And we just want to give you the opportunity to say any additional closing thoughts before we get to the raffle. And so, James, I'll start with you. What closing thoughts would you have?
Yeah, sure. Just be in the moment, enjoy the moment as well that you're going through your career, your school career. Jess had mentioned, stopping by the office hours. When I was in school, I'd never thought a professor thought that, but that is something I'm like, okay, I need to go back to school to leverage those opportunities in time. But yeah, just enjoy the ride, enjoy the moment, and everything will fall into place. There are times where you don't get the career that you wanted at the very beginning. And I thought I had the dream career as my first job, and I've had several jobs. So, just enjoy the moment and just enjoy the ride and always be willing to just have fun.
I appreciate that. Denise, what about you? What closing thoughts?
I guess I would say, don't worry if you don't know what you want to do right now. I had no idea that I would be here and doing what I'm doing and working where I am. Not even 10 years ago, I had no idea. And it's okay. You don't have to know. Not all of us are like Kimberly, who knew when she in third grade that she wanted to be a CPA.
It's true.
It's okay if you don't know what you want to do. Take the time, as James said, enjoy it, be in the moment. As those opportunities come up, as things present themselves, take a chance. If it looks interesting, give it a try. If you don't like it, go another direction. But be open to things, and don't worry if you don't know what you want to do right now. It's okay. You have an entire career to find out what you want to do.
Excellent. Okay, Jess.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. It's okay not to know what you want to do. It will come. I never expected to be in education, and here I am. All my friends, when I told them I was going to education, they laughed at me because I was very quiet, didn't really talk, and now I'm in front of people doing these presentations. And so it's okay not to know, and it's okay to let your career take you to where it's going to go. It's a great field to go into. All experience is great experience. So even your first job is going to translate into the accounting profession, no matter what it is. So any experience is great experience. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of getting to know other people, build your network up. But it's a great profession to go into. A lot of possibilities, opportunities for you.
I could not have said it better than these three panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have Dina Broido, we have Stephen and Jason Friedman, and we have Derry Newbill. So what we would like is for you to share your name, your title, your affiliation, and then we're going to get into the questions. We've got a number of questions from our future bosses, and we have some in the chat. They're all over, and I have some as well. So I'm going to mix them all up to make it interesting. And so I'm going to start with you first, Dina, and I just want to thank you for answering a lot of questions. You're very engaged and active in the chat. So thank you so much. And now we know you're from BDO, and I've seen all those commercials, and it's when you know it's BDO. So,
those who know BDO.
That's it. We know that commercial. Yeah. And I don't watch TV. So if I know it, it must be out there big time. So Dina, maybe you should share with us name, title, and affiliation.
Sure. Thank you, Kimberly. So as you all know, my name is Dina Broido. I'm an experienced manager within what we call our data forensics practice, which is why some of the questions about forensics were near and dear to my heart. So you saw me in the chat there too. I'm actually also adjunct faculty at the University of Maryland, teaching as part of the Robert H. Smith School of Business. And yes, I am part of BDO. I actually had a pilot stop me at one point when he saw me wearing a BDO branded shirt, and he was like, those who know. And it took me a second to be like, oh yeah, he's talking about BDO.
Yeah. That's what we think. So thank you for that. Derry, what about you?
Sure. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Derry Newbill. I'm a managing director with Deloitte & Touche in the audit practice in Richmond, Virginia. And I've been with Deloitte for about, and this is my 14th year with Deloitte, all within Richmond, all within the audit practice. So.
Thank you. Stephen and Jason, you're up.
Thank you so much for having us. Definitely appreciate it. My name's Stephen Freeman. I'm one of the co-founders of Freeman and Freeman. Also, we're Tattoo Tax Guys known as.
Yeah, and I'm his brother, Jason Friedman, again, the co-founder of Friedman Accounting and Tax Advisors. Thank you so much for letting us be on here today, and we're excited to kind of tell you a little bit about what we do and the firm that we started actually a little bit less than a year ago.
Oh, that's exciting. Whenever we can talk about entrepreneurship, so many of our future bosses are interested in charting their own course, paving their own way. And so I'm going to start with you two first, because you got that cool background and everyone can't see your shirt because that same logo was on your shirt as well. See that? You don't see that every day. Yeah. I can't say I see that at all. So it's really cool. So maybe start with telling us some common misconceptions about your field of accounting.
No, absolutely. And to kind of actually to piggyback off of Jessica's earlier statement about not being good at math, it really, I mean, math is such a minimal part of what we do as CPAs. It really is. It's more, I feel, customer service oriented. I mean, it really is meeting people where they're at, especially if you're dealing with small businesses. The level of understanding in some of these, or even caring, you know what I mean? I mean, they have their own jobs, their own businesses they're trying to do. The financial aspect might not be something they're very familiar with. So really meeting people where they're at and making them feel comfortable through the process and through whether it be building their financial statements, their tax season, the consulting engagements, whatever that may be in your specific industry.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'll kind of just, another misconception I think we see a lot, or that I know I've seen a lot, certainly since when I started in public accounting about 13, 14 years ago, where it kind of seems it's really drilled into you from really when you're in college, at least it was, several years ago. You kind of had two main options. And I know one of the panelists earlier kind of, made a reference to this, where it kind of feels like you just have audit or tax. Those are your two options. And to kind of take that a step further, it kind of felt like everybody would say to us when you were kind of very, you're senior, getting ready to graduate, you go into public and you get that public on your resume. You do that for as long as you can. They're gonna burn you out, and then you leave and you go to private. And it just kind of felt like that was the path that we heard over and over. Do public, do it as long as you can, get burnt out, go to private. And I think that's a huge misconception, because I don't think it really has anything to do private or public, large firms, small firms. It's really just finding a company that really has the same values as you, that that really you have a lot of passion for what you're doing, whether it's the industry that you serve, the client base, the type of work that you do. The size, that's going to be different for everybody. So that's really just more of a preference. So if you can find something that you enjoy, the people that you work, if you like the people that you work with on a daily basis, the clients that you serve, and the work that you're doing every day, it doesn't matter whether it's private or public. There's absolutely no reason to go and start your career thinking I'm going to just do this until I burn myself out and then leave, and it's going to magically be better on the other side. So just, if everybody's hearing that, please don't kind of prescribe to that. Just kind of figure out, try different things, try audit, try tax, try large firms, try small firms, private, public, try things out. And eventually it will kind of just, the path will open up to you as you discover what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy.
I think that's so key, because we heard Denise in the last panel, and she's in the chat. She loves what she does, and she enjoys going to work every day. So that's just absolutely amazing. So what about you, Dina? What are misconceptions that you want to clear up right now about your field of accounting?
Sure, and I'm going to speak to this from the side of forensics, but I think it's actually really applicable across all of accounting. Is most people, when they think forensics, they think of one type of work, right? So we heard from Denise and her experience, and so we had a few questions about, I would be scared to be out in front and talking to criminals. Well, actually, a lot of the work that I do is proactive. So actually helping a company set up its programs, its systems in a way to make sure that they prevent and detect fraud. And so there's actually, both within accounting and within forensics, there's a lot of different pathways that you can take, as you've heard most of us talk about. And so just because you've gone into audit, right, doesn't mean that all you're doing is necessarily auditing. A lot of the skills in audit are then transferable to if you're doing a forensics engagement, if you're doing a tax engagement. We do a lot of forensics or asset tracing from a tax perspective and look at tax stocks documents. And the other big misconception I've heard is, if you're a forensic professional or you're in consulting, you don't need a CPA. CPA credential just, it really establishes your ethos, right? That you have gone through, you have studied, you know this information, whether or not you use it day to day. Like, I couldn't tell you, as Anoop said in the first panel, like, I don't do taxes. It's not my specialty. It's not what I do. But I still sat through the reg section and I had to pass it, and we talked about the tax code, and you still need to stay up to date on it. So you still come across it in this profession, and having that credential and recognizing that, just because we've heard one term or we've just heard accounting doesn't mean that you're the accountant like from the movie, but it also doesn't mean that you're that back office person that never sees the light, never talks to people, and is just like a complete introvert. There's really a variety and a spectrum of who can be in accounting, who can be in forensics, and what types of skill sets, backgrounds you need. Because, our professionals, at least in data forensics, we got psychology majors, we have history majors, we have engineers, we have accountants, and we all work together because we provide each part of that business.
I absolutely love that. That's true. Many of us don't even do our own taxes, and we're CPAs. I need to go to a tax professional. So I have a CPA who does my taxes. So, absolutely, so many options, so many paths. What about you, Derry? What misconceptions do you want to clear up?
Yeah, I'll echo what a few other people said and kind of what you just said. I mean, when people think of CPA, they all almost immediately say equal CPA to taxes. And to this day, about when I get busy for our busy season or interim, my family members and friends say, "Oh, you must be getting ready for tax season." And at this point, I just kind of give up and say, "Yes, I'm getting ready for tax season," because that's just what people think. But yeah, you can do. There's just so much more opportunities and so many different aspects of accounting other than just taxes. So I mean that's probably the biggest misconception. I think people just aren't aware of the different avenues you can go to within accounting. But then also in general, I think people also equate accounting with being in front of spreadsheets all day and just sitting in front of a desk or in front of your computer and not really interacting with others. And that's very far from the truth because accounting, there's a lot of areas of accounting that are not black and white. There's a lot of shades of gray in accounting, and there's a lot of judgment that need to be made in order to account for certain items and prepare financial statements and just to, for people to do their jobs in general. And because of that, a lot of the day to day is really interacting with others, interacting with team members, interacting with client professionals, kind of working through various issues to solve problems. And you're not just crunching numbers all day. And for me, that actually keeps the job fresh for me because I'm constantly kind of running from thing to thing or problem to problem, I should say, putting out fires. And that's exciting to me to be able to do different things throughout the day and throughout the various weeks.
No, I definitely appreciate that. And I'm looking at the questions in the chat, the questions I have, and the questions on Conferences IL. And so here is a question from Conferences IL that was voted up, and people want to know from an employer standpoint, what skills, education, or personality traits would you look for in a potential employee? So I don't know, Steven, let's hear from you.
I would definitely say soft skills. Because accounting standards, stuff like that, they change over time, systems change, new stuff comes out all the time. But the ability to effectively communicate with a client, that's never going to go out of style. That's always going to be relevant. It really is. I mean, and taking that to your coworkers, that I think that's paramount when it comes to just as important as technical proficiency is the ability to communicate that, because you can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't articulate that to somebody else, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
So you and Jason, if you've been a year, right? A year in?
Almost. Yeah. Then the January 1st will actually be a year.
So how much are you communicating right now about your marketing, your dream, your vision? How much is that coming into play with these success skills we're talking about?
It is nonstop. It is a constant with ourselves, with our clients. It's nonstop. I mean, it is. You can't make any informed decisions as a business owner or communicate to your clients as business owners without the ability to effectively communicate. I mean, like that's just to use words that may always, you kind of hear that back in the profession. You kind of want to get to you want to use people's own terminology, make them feel comfortable. You don't want you always kind of like want to be
meet them where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was kind of add. I mean, I think relationships are key. I think a lot of people, especially if you're in public, it's so easy to kind of get lost. If you're in tax, if you're in audit, it doesn't matter. You get lost in the compliance. You get lost in the spreadsheets. I know somebody mentioned that earlier. But it really is, that's such a small part that I personally kind of discovered as we started our own firm over this past year. Doing the actual tax returns and the bookkeeping, that's such a small part. Like there's so many other aspects, and it all kind of centers around those relationships that we're building with professionals, obviously, like that are on the call today, and more importantly, just your clients in the industry.
Absolutely. And I don't know, Dina or Derry, if you have people that report into you or if you have anything to add to this particular question.
So I teach a class on career search strategies.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things that I like to say to my students is, while technical skills are great, a lot of it is your attitude. And that's really because you're going to be working with people, right? And you're going to want to work with them. And the worst thing that I see in a new hire is when you go reach out to them with a task, doesn't matter what the task is, and instead of saying yes or having an attitude of, all right, let me try, it's, nah, this isn't interesting, right? And so the attitude of you're constantly curious, you're constantly learning, you're thinking about those soft skills, right? Those relationships, that ability to communicate, having that open attitude is really what makes the difference for me for candidates, because I can tell you, a lot of the work we do is in SQL. We do a lot of data visualization. I can find a candidate that looks perfect on paper, has Python skills, has, SQL skills, has R skills, all these different things, but then you get them in an interview and first off, they can't talk. They're bored. They don't know what we do at all. They haven't done any research into the company or like our department. And it's like, well, clearly we are not a priority for you. This is not something you want to be doing or part of. And so that attitude is enough to kill that potential candidate for me because, if I put you on a project and an engagement, if you're rolling your eyes at a client, that is something that, can hurt a relationship, right? And so whether that client is internal, external, how are you really communicating your brand, communicating that, open-minded attitude to people? I think that's really important when it comes to, from an employer standpoint, at least, new hires, whether they be interns, whether they be even experienced hires, right? If I'm hiring a manager to work with me and they consider things beneath themselves and they're not willing to roll up their sleeves and get in and do the work as well, like, is that someone who can train my associates or my seniors? No. So realistically speaking, thinking about what is it that you're passionate about? How are you going to stay curious about that? And how are you going to express who you are in terms of a brand? Because realistically, when you're building those relationships, when you are communicating, what is it that is unique about you? What kind of drives you? And then everything else will fall into place, right? You'll learn the things you hate, you'll learn the things you love, and then finding a job becomes an optimization problem. How do I minimize the things I hate? How do I like increase things I love? But without having that attitude of, all right, there's some things I'm going to hate and I'm still going to have to do them. And there'll be things that I love that that will just invigorate me and make me passionate. You're not really going to be successful, in my opinion, in a job because there will always be something you don't love. But being able to get over that, being able to communicate that, being able to set expectations, boundaries, etc., is really what is going to make you successful, whether that be as an intern, a new hire, or someone experienced.
Dina, I don't know if there were enough likes that I could use to say how much I like what you said. And I will tell you, I can't count the times I've shown up early for an event. I move chairs, I move tables, I hand out, I will stand at the door of any door, greet people when they come in, say welcome, hello. I'm not above any role in the organization in order to get the work done. I'm also an entrepreneur, but I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, even when I was an entrepreneur. And I think that's a key part. It's about your attitude. I've picked up dishes and put them in the sink. I put trash in the trash. I just think there is an attitude of excitement. And if you think like an owner, it shows up and it shows through every single thing you do. Because in that case, you're not coming in thinking you're ready to be the CEO when sometimes you just got to work your way up. And especially if you're your own boss, you really have to do all of the work, sweeping the floor, mopping the floor, and washing the dishes too, all at the same time, because that's what entrepreneurship is like sometimes. It's just like that. So, Derry, what would you say to that point about what are you looking for? You know, kind of attributes, success skills in an employee.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, not to beat a dead horse, but I mean, it really is the soft skills. Throughout my career and my various roles, I've probably interviewed, hundreds of students. And I mean, I can tell you, we're not asking accounting questions when we're interviewing people. We're trying to figure out, is this a person that we can work with as a team? Is this person going to be a good team member? Is this someone who, we can put in front of the client and have confidence? Because from a technical perspective, you're going to learn the debits and credits in school, but a lot of what we do, a lot of what you learn is from on the job learning. And so you got to looking for someone to have the attitude that, understands it's a steep learning curve, and someone who's going to ask a lot of questions and just realizes that, it's a steep learning curve that we have. But in general, it's really the soft skills to be able to work in a team, to be able to go talk to the client, be able to have a positive attitude and interact with others, but and also just be a critical thinker as well. But again, that kind of goes back to the kind of misconception of you're just kind of all alone, where in reality, a lot of what you're doing is in a team throughout the day.
Well, I appreciate that. And I do want to say one, the raffle's coming up. It probably may already be closed. Two, we are going to have the breakout rooms. The chat is going, is live, is engaged. I love every bit of it. But there was a question there that was about how do you get the interview? How do you get an internship? Maybe if you could just answer for each one of your companies, and then I'll come back to you, ask you for any closing thoughts, and then we'll go to the raffle just to give everyone some breadcrumbs on where we're going. So how do students get an internship if they don't have finance and accounting experience? And that was a question in the chat, and some of our other amazing panelists are answering, but I want to get your thoughts around that as well.
I mean, I know I started an answer, but basically what I said is use your network. As I said previously in one of my responses, a lot of my students like to say they've just been some job, right? So like I've just been a waiter, I've just been a lifeguard. There's no such thing as a just job. You don't need to have finance and accounting experience to be successful in this space. As you heard us all say about the soft skill side, every single job experience, every single project you do as a student team project, right? Every single class you have where you have to complete, an assignment, right? If you think about that as a client deliverable, those are all transferable skills. And then it's a question of, all right, well, within my, community college, my university, my high school, right? You're meeting professors, you're meeting teachers. You also typically have an advising office. You also typically may, depending on the size of your organization, have an office of career services. Go to those people, talk to them, express your interest in a particular role, job, see who they have in their network, or even more so, look up your professor's LinkedIn profile, see who they're connected to. Pick 10 people, reach out to them and say, hey, professor, I'm really curious to talk to Derry, to Stephen, and would you mind connecting me with those people? I'm willing to bet you most of your professors will be like, yes, great, wonderful. I would love to connect you. And they'll do it. And I see Jess saying, yes, Dina, exclamation point, exclamation point. Jessica, it is 100% okay to connect with your professors. Most of them will encourage it. If they don't encourage it, then you know that that's just not the professor for you. But like I can tell, I tell to my students that every single classmate they have will at one point be running some sort of business, something. They'll be running the world at some point. Every professor you have has experience, and we are all now part of your network. Every single person on this 200 panel that you now have is someone who is now in your network.
And
Make
I
sure
would
you
link
connect with
in with
them and follow
everybody.
up.
Absolutely, Dina. Absolutely. I would like everything that you just said, and definitely connect. Say you were on this panel, say you were listening, say they encourage you to link in. Definitely also, we've got Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina leaders on this call. You have leaders in your state. If you're not in any of those three, we can help you get connected to people. There's student membership opportunities in each one of the state societies. So many places that you can go. And sometimes, I'm going to be honest, you got to make your own opportunities, because there could be people that you've seen on LinkedIn. I can't tell you how many students reach out to me. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to respond, because they had the courage and the bravery to reach out to someone they didn't know. And I'm here for it, all of it. So be brave, reach out to people and tell them that you're interested. And I tell you what, every one of us on this call got on here. People are vested. They care about you. They love you. We're welcoming you. We want you to see yourself in any one of these seats, and we're willing to help you along the way. So take us up on it. Take us up on it. So Jason, any thoughts from you around how to get an internship, you and Steve, and what your thoughts are?
Yeah, I would just kind of elaborating on what you just said, in all honesty, is ask, number one. I know that sounds kind of silly, but it really does start there. Ask, and then don't give up. We're kind of in a unique position. So we focus on the tattoo industry, and that's the only industry that we serve. And so it's kind of interesting, in that industry, they have a similar, they call them apprentices. They have apprenticeships, but it's the same concept as getting an internship. And you'd be surprised, you hear a lot of people, a lot of young artists out there, they say, I can't find an apprenticeship. And, you know, we ask, okay, well, how many shops have you gone to? How many people have you asked? Maybe one or two, and they didn't call me back. Did you go back? Did you go in there and form relationships with those artists to try, or did you just expect to walk right in and be like, hey, hand me this great opportunity? So kind of just take that on the professional side. It's the exact same thing. You guys are already talking about it. Build those relationships, ask, and don't give up if you really want that opportunity.
Because that perseverance and that unwillingness to give up, that in itself will show up as a great attribute. I mean, that speaks volumes for you. I mean, and you guys you're accountants, and you're potential CPA, so you're already not scared of hard work. And you guys are smart, and girls are smart, so like, you got it.
Love that. What about you, Derry? What would you say? You're at Deloitte. Hey, what about internships? What about opportunities in general? What would you share?
I would say just show up at networking events at school, career fairs, and just make sure you kind of get face-to-face time with the various companies there. If you just go online and submit a resume, your chances of being successful is going to be a lot less compared to if we have a name to your face and you have a relationship with one of the recruiters or one of the professionals. So I'll just say, show up and network, go to as many career fairs. If there aren't career fairs at your school, go to another school, or there's various other programs, overall networking events that the firms have to offer. So just being proactive and kind of trying to get out there and just meet as many people as you can.
I thank you for that. And I thank all of you for asking questions, but also our panelists for being willing to answer them. So as we close this part of the panel, I want to ask one word that you would leave students with that would be something they should take away. Give me a word or a short description that, as you were speaking, as you were listening, that you really want to give them as a nugget for them to remember. And so who would like to go first?
I'll go first. You're not alone. Everybody on the panel is here to support you. Your teachers are here. We've all been in the same shoes. It's at some point in time trying to get the CPA, trying to get through those damn classes, trying to go through this stuff. So you're not alone. Reach out to your network. We're all here to help and support you. You guys are the future leaders. We're going to be probably coming to you for jobs one day. So,
And don't give us a hard time when we come.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Jason, what would you say? Give me a short description.
It's hard to say in a word or two, but I would just say don't wait. If you're waiting for the perfect moment or that perfect opportunity when all the stars are aligned, it's never going to happen. So if you really want to do something, if you're interested in a certain path, a certain job, a certain opportunity, just go for it. Don't wait. It's not going to get better. There's always going to be something. So just go for it, and I promise it will work itself out if it's meant to be. And you'll figure it out in the way. You'll figure out all those obstacles that you're afraid of by just doing it.
Awesome. Derry, what about you? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say, research slash networking, just kind of as you guys are trying to figure out what it is that you want to do with the rest of your career, just talk to as many people as you can to get their perspective on what it's like to be within their respective professions, what it's like to be in their positions, and that's going to help give you even further information to help mold your decisions as you decide what career path you want to go on.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Dina.
I have two, because I thought of my second one as you all were talking. My first one was don't be afraid to fail. A lot of the times you learn more from failure or from things you don't like than maybe sometimes from things you like. I've been on panels before where people were asked, are you in your dream job? And just about no one raised their hand. But that's because also there's a difference between what you consider your dream job, you know? And then the second one that I was going to say is when you walk into a room, assume that you know the least amount of information. Like you are not the smartest person in that room. You are probably the dumbest person in that room, and that there's always something you can learn from every single person that's there. Because if you have that attitude, A, you're not going to come off like a jerk, but B, you're actually going to learn something from people if you're assuming that you are not the smartest person and know everything.
Great advice. Thank you, panelists. And hopefully you'll be able to continue to answer questions in the chat and also be around for the breakout meet and greet. And so thank you. So what we have next planned is basically a shift to some breakout rooms. Many of our panelists have been able to stay. We know there are questions, this long list we didn't get to. Hopefully Lauren and Holly, we can save the chat so we can go back and make sure we got questions answered. But we're going to allow all of our future bosses to pick the room they want to go to. And I believe, as I understood it, you'll be able to go in and out of rooms, get what you want, go to the next room, maybe follow up. There's also going to be an email that's sent to you with contact information and how you can follow up. And maybe if, depending on how we do these questions, or if we do another program in the future, we might be able to answer some of these additional questions as well. And so with that, I want to check with Lauren or Molly, Mackenzie, Holly.
Yep, I am.
Did I miss anything?
I think we're good. I'm ready to open all the rooms if you are.
I'm ready.
All right. Happy networking.
Yes.
And so it automatically puts our panelists in their particular rooms, and then students can join whatever room they would like to be a part of. There are 3 different rooms.
Awesome. This is great. All breakout rooms will close in 30 seconds. I see Gwendolyn Johnson. Hi, Gwendolyn. You are so welcome. So welcome.
All right, everybody is coming back.
Yes. Oh, they're saying this was so helpful. That makes my heart sing. Where can we see the recording? Give us a couple of days to, yes. Lucy, you're going outside in the cold. And you have a hat on. That's how I know it's cold. Where are you? Lucy, where are you? Wait, I can't see. Where are you? Come off mute.
Portland.
Portland.
Oh, wow.
Woo! Yes. Okay. Yeah. Oregon. I knew it was chilly when I saw that hat. And then I see Jess. I had people from Shelby, North Carolina. I don't think I've ever met people who actually even from North Carolina. The only reason they know where Shelby is because once you get past Charlotte, it'll say Shelby on the sign going down 74.
That's the only reason people know it. Is they
That
should
is
be fine.
Yep, they know Rocky Mountain. They don't know Shelby.
Nope. I just say I'm from Charlotte just because it's easier.
That's probably true. True.
Aww.
Your program makes me excited. Yay.
That's
We want you to be
awesome.
excited. That's the best news. I think we're all here and we do not want to keep you any longer. I just want to thank the future bosses. Thank you so much. And when I say future bosses, because I want you to own it. I want you to write it. I want you to live it. I want you to feel it, to feel the level of excitement that we feel. I want to thank the panelists and everyone who answered in the chat. Thank you, because I know we had some professionals also answering in the chat. Thank you. You could have been doing anything. That you were here with us and future bosses means the world to us. And who is us? Us is the North Carolina Association of CPAs, the Virginia Society of CPAs, the Maryland Association of CPAs. What an amazing partnership. What an amazing opportunity. Hard-working people. Madam CEO Rebecca Olson of MACPA, thank you so much for that warm welcome and warm introduction. Thank you for your commitment and all of the commitments of the other execs, your peers who would be here, but they knew we were in good hands, so they knew that we would take care of it. And I can't wait to share with them what we're planning to do next. We still have questions to answer. We're still trying to figure out how we do that, but we know we want to get this recording to all of you. So please, if we could ask the panelists to stay on, future bosses, link in, and stay tuned for the emails that you'll receive from Lauren. So have a great and amazing evening. Thank you.